Alright, we are recording, yay! I decided that, after being surprised by how much the video compare software is capable of doing that, and also some other stuff, I decided, you know what? I'm gonna make a video just looking at the impact that the film grain synthesis tool in AV1 can do, since, hey, I can now do things so much more easily with video compare. So, let's look at this. So, this is one of the clips I used before. And what we have on the left side, is the processed video without the film grain on there. So this is not the original off of the Blu-ray. This will have compression artifacting and such. In fact, if you go in, you can see it there. There's definitely compression artifacting there. That's fine. That's fine. But now, just to show, so this is with film grain synthesis at 10, FG10. That's what that means. So this is where the AV1 encoder did the analysis and tried to put in the grain itself, which I think it isn't necessarily doing a great job of in some ways. But yeah, so if we look in there, you can see, yeah, there's a little bit. It's not the clearest. But here, we can tab through so we can get that more and more intense, and this is up to 50, which, doing the left-right there, I can see it's there, but it really is not not as obvious as I wish it were. And just letting that go further so we can see it in another spot. So again, you can't see it there, but it is okay. Now at 40 and 50, it's much clearer, but it's still. I start at a default of 25 typically, yeah, because that's not that strong. Now, true, the original video doesn't really have any film grain in there, but it still is, even in a video that does have more, like a more traditional film. It's still, yeah, I have to go up to 25 before I'm really noticing it. Okay. And because it might be kind of neat to see, that's not what I want. There we go. So this is how we can see the difference. And this is just a straight difference, left minus right. And you can barely see anything. Now, if I hit this one, so this is adaptive. It's applied a gain, so it increases the appearance of the differences. Okay. And you can see that, yeah, it figured out that, okay, more grain here, less grain there. Okay. So that's what all that looks like. And you can even see it flickering a little bit, which is actually kind of interesting. Because yes, film grain can flicker from one frame to the next. And I do try to do things to try to minimize. Minimize isn't quite the word. To try to make sure that when that is there, it is addressed one way or the other, either to actually have it either preserve that, which is something that the variable boost curve, yes, VBC, variable boost curve that I talked about in the AV1 video, just one of the settings I have in there, one of the controls I have in there, that I've seen help with this, but it might also be you know what, no, I don't want that flickering. So anyway, so yeah, so that is what that looks like. Close that, and I also did this. Wrong folder. There we go. And it did get captured. So this is now going through the photon noise, but I am starting at 40, which is what I chose to do for the video. So this is how I have it encoded. And you can see that's definitely a lot more obvious than what we had before. It's also got a finer noise, a finer grain, I think. But yeah, now it is still, from here, it's not that obvious. It's not all that obvious. But I've just stepped up so we can go to 60. Again, not super obvious, but it is there. 80, it's getting more obvious. And here, when we, yeah, like I can see it from here. It's actually easier for me to see on my television than on this. And that's where I initially went through and looked at some of the stuff. 100, that's definitely obvious. And then 200, that is painfully obvious. Like, this is artifacting level. Because hopefully this is coming through in the video. But here, I mean, look at that. Look at how much chromatic noise there is there. Oof. Yeah, you don't want to go up to 200. This is the maximum level for photon noise. Yeah, far too much. This is fine for this. And as you see, it does get more intense, more intense, more intense, and then, oh my god, why are we doing this? In levels of intense. Yeah, so that's why I started here. Fairly subtle, but it is present. And it can help. You know, the compression artifacting that is just there, it's no longer as obvious. And we are zoomed in, almost 8 times here. 8 times, and now we're seeing that. But back here, you don't really see it. So yeah, it's not a problem. I'm adding a little bit of subtle character with photon noise of 40. Adding a little bit of subtle character to the video. I'm not damaging, I'm not distracting from the video. Okay, now I also did this though, which it makes me feel a little bit better. I will explain that. In that I don't always mess much with the noise of the size of the grain in photon noise. Kind of makes me feel bad about that. So it's 0. This is, hey, based on the resolution of the video, put in at this level. Okay, and this is at 100, by the way, so it's definitely visible. That's what that looks like. Okay. Hit tab, and so now we're at size 1. I'm gonna be honest, I can barely tell difference. 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I saw a little bit of change from 4 to 5, and maybe it's just these steps are too small for it to be obvious. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's a lot that look the same. 12, and then 13. It's not super obvious. But we can do this. Let me do that as well. Okay, so this is the just no gain added to the difference. And I can see a little bit in there. Here, let's actually go forward a little bit. There, I want here. Okay. So now if I tab through, should get a little bit more. Okay, not tremendously. There was a little bit. Yeah, going from 0. Oh, that's actually interesting. As I'm tabbing through, so even though the size should be getting larger, the difference is actually reducing. That's interesting to see, because from 13 to 0, it jumps. But now let's have it be adaptive. So now we're adding some gain to make the difference more obvious. And this is what it looks like. And no, because I can also go to that, which may also help some. But yeah, so going from 0 to 1 now, oh yeah, there was a definite change that we could see. 1 to 2, it's subtle. 2 to 3, subtle. But you can see how, yeah, there are some changes definitely going on here. So yeah, why don't we do that? That might also... Okay, so now, this is just the a luminance level. So it's literally every pixel in this, it's been gained, so it's been multiplied. It's stronger than what the difference actually was, but still is when no color, it's just pure strength of the difference. And within this image would be accurate. So it's like, this is still a smaller difference than up here. At least it should be. Which seems odd, because I don't know why photon noise... It should be generic across all. I don't know how you can see the image in there, but maybe it's a quirk to how video compare is working, or maybe it is when the film grain overlay is done that it does incorporate some of the underlying image in a way that can produce this. But anyway, and let's also... So you can see the pattern doesn't change, but some parts of it do suddenly become lighter or darker, but it's still like you can see shapes in there. Those don't seem to change too much. Which is definitely interesting, because you would kind of sort of hope that if you're trying to set the grain size, you would kind of hope that it is actually changing the pattern. It looks, well, from 0 to something. I wish I could go back, but that doesn't seem to be a thing. Oh. Shift tab works. Cool. So from here, it does seem a little bit more obvious. But it is like, this is 13 to 0, back to 13. So that seems definitely pretty large. My guess from looking at this, and this is an observation, I don't mean it as a criticism. is, and it makes a difference. Okay, it does still make a difference. So if I do that, it's like that definitely has a different character to it than this, right? My guess for what's going on here, because photon noise size or film grain size is not part of the normal spec, it seems, for AV1's film grain synthesis, right? Doesn't seem to be in there. So what my guess is, somebody figured out a relatively simple way to have, like, it's the same pattern, but it might be, pattern being used for the noise. But it might be okay, if I emphasize this part of the pattern in this block, if I emphasize this part, it looks like the grain is larger. I'm guessing somebody may have figured out how to do that. So they're just changing the emphasis within each pattern for the noise. So that way it appears larger or it appears smaller. Which is a clever way, because it might be that, no, you can't physically change the grain size because the tool itself does not support that capability. Well, but we can fake it. And it is this makes me a little doubtful, but it is, no, I've done some videos, as in I've processed some movies, where I did adjust the grain size, and yes, it made a difference. It legitimately, we had the same amount of grain, but by changing the size, it then meshed cleaner than it had. So, no, this is still worth experimenting with. It depends on the source. For this Freerin, it's clean anime. There's no reason to mess with the size in this, unless you really want to be artsy with it. But something like, I've got Seven Samurai down there. So another Japanese work. That I think I may have actually, I'm not sure, but I may have edited the grain size there. Or at least that is something that might be suitable to do in. Or Rashomon, or Yojimbo, which are all black and white. But those, each one, it might be worth experimenting with it there, because I can't believe, especially Yojimbo, because oh man, I love it. It's a beautiful film. Also very good film, but it's like the Blu-ray that I have of that, and there's a 4K that I'm almost tempted to. I don't need it, but it's like, ooh. But the harshness, the level of contrast for black and white in that, it's noir level. It is so good. And they did a fantastic transfer. I have the Criterion version. It's a fantastic transfer. It is so beautiful. Oh, it's such a good movie too, so it's easy to recommend. But yeah, so that is somewhere that I think I did actually look at that. And now for completeness, if nothing else. Oh yeah, and we can also do something. Well, okay, so I had figured out, and let me just, okay, good. I had learned that, with the video compare update, that's possible to have, you drop a single file on there and it will show you with and without the film grain. That's kind of what I'm doing here, so I don't need to go through that again. But let's look here, and you can, this is, again, back to just film grain. It adds a little bit, but not too much. Hit that tab up, and it's definitely thicker. It's more obvious, but not much compared to film grain of 10. So, because there isn't much there for it to work with, but it's still even at 20. It's like, this is what I'll start at 25, and I'll go low if I need to. I'll go high if I need to. Let's also just, oh wait, this one. So it is interesting how with this, you're not really seeing, a little bit. I can see a little bit of him there. But this is, you don't, until you get up to 50, you are not really seeing much of the character of what's underneath there, which it might just be because it was saying, hey, there's like nothing here. There's no real difference. So that is kind of interesting. All right, let's also look through that same clip. This is my test C, but this time with the photon noise. So 40, that's where I start. And see, that it's just adding a little bit of character there. It's not really doing too much more. But it is we go up to 100, go up to 200, and that's just distracting to the image. Oh my god, that's horrible. Which is why, that's why I used 40, because that's much too high. And it is, that is so weird. That's so weird. That the thing that is not supposed to be concerned with the content underneath, is showing the stuff, whereas the other one that is supposed to be aware of the content underneath doesn't show anything. That is kind of funny. Okay, let's do that and just tab through them. All right. It is also a little interesting that I can see some streaks in here, but they're only in the color. Once I go to here, I really cannot notice them. Anyway, let's also look at the noise size. Right. So yeah, remember, we're at 100, so it is kind of high. Yeah, 0 to 1, I am kind of seeing that, but 1 to 2, that's not really all that visible. And it might just be that the steps from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 and so on is just that small. But 0, 13 can definitely see. And it's also interesting. It does look like it's softer, which would be as though it's just it is larger. Like you zoomed in too far. You have to zoom back out to actually see it. So let's. Oh, that's not what I want to do. That's it. So this is back to the adaptive because, oh, okay, cool. So shift does just generically work to go back. Awesome. So this is what it looks like without any gain to the difference, but here it is otherwise. And if we do that, I mean that change from 0 to 13, that's obvious. And so yeah, I can believe that that's also what it's doing. It's just the grain itself is a little softer looking, so it does this. Okay. But it is, man, going through those steps, that's hard to really see. But fortunately, it is, I think, for a lot of them, I've tended not to really mess with the size, but sometimes no, that is exactly what I need to do. I need to go in there, I need to adjust the size in order to get the look I want. But yeah, and oh yeah, that's right. This is at 1080, but I've got it shrunk down. I'm sorry, I didn't even think about that. Well, it's a good thing then that I've been zooming it. But yeah, so hopefully you have found this this video interesting. It is just, hey, since I can do stuff like tabbing through and all that now and have the difference that we're looking at here, and those are very nice, good additions that they made to Video Compare. So yeah, and I also do want to talk about the film grain tool because it is I referred to it before as a cheat code. I'm not going to use that terminology here. I want to use a different one, but I can't think of what the right term would be. It is a powerful tool. It is worth trying to understand it if you're going to encode with an AV1. Build up that experience so you can get the look that you want. Because it can have a very beneficial impact if you spend the time to figure out, okay, is this how I want it to look? And once you do, then yeah, it can. I mean, like with this, because there's no real film grain in FreeRun, but I like film grain. So just at a subtle level, so it's there, so that it's a little bit more comfortable to my eyes, because I want that character to be there. But it can also be a way to help hide some artifacting as well, just some compression artifacting, which is already going to be hard from if watching it at the proper distance. So it's already going to be hard to see that. But this is like, nope, even further. It's obscured a little bit better. So it's like it is powerful. It's worth respecting, but that respect means spend some time with it, which is why I wanted to spend some time here, some additional time, going through and showing you the differences. That's all. See you next time.